everyone, and welcome back to Casual Climbers, the podcast by and for beginning hikers and those who may not quite be physically ready to tackle the Appalachian Trail. I'm your host, Donna Patrick, and alongside me is my husband and adventure buddy, Roy.
Hi, Donna.
Hi, Roy.
So in this podcast, we provide you with information, tricks, tips, all the sort on how to get into hiking here in the Blue Ridge area. We will also cover some of the hundreds of trails in the various parks in the region and hopefully entertain you a little bit along the way. We're two middle-aged, not in the best shape hikers.
Definitely not in the best shape hikers.
Who love the outdoors and want to share all of our experiences with you. So in this week's episode, Donna, we discuss an amazing 2-mile hike right on the Blue Ridge Parkway, the Craggy Gardens Trail.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was gorgeous. We'll also have a fun fact segment about the first settler and his family to that mountain that took a very weird turn.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we'll review the Craggy Gardens Visitor Center right there on the Blue Ridge Parkway. So what do you say, Donna? Let's get into it.
Let's go.
So here's this week's trail by the numbers. The distance is 2.09 miles there and back, so it's not a terribly long hike. The time it took us was 1 hour and 44 minutes, but only 1 hour of that is actual moving time. The lowest point is our highest starting point yet, Donna, 5,175 feet above sea level.
Yeah, and you could feel it too. I had to pop my ears a couple of times going up there.
Going on up, yep. The highest point is 5,575 feet, so there's only a 400-foot elevation change along the trail, but it's a pretty constant climb on the way up there. And the friendliness of the trail, it is very rocky and rooty throughout. There's no way you're getting a wheelchair or even a hub around up that trail.
Yeah, probably not. You'd have to be, you just can't do it.
Nope, no way. So let's talk about the trail a little bit. So first of all, the last 16 episodes, at some point or another, we have had a stream, a lake, or a waterfall.
Correct.
This one has none of it.
Right. Bring your own water.
Absolutely bring your own water.
Yes.
So why do it then?
Oh my goodness. There are reasons to do this trail. The vistas.
The vistas. Without question, this trail has been the most beautiful vistas that we've done to date.
Yeah. Just breathtaking.
Absolutely incredible. Now, this is one that you and I had not done before this yesterday.
Interestingly enough, we had stopped at that gift shop,
at the
that visitor center.
There?
Yeah, the Craggy Gardens one. We had stopped. I didn't even know that there was a hiking trail right there next to it. So it's kind of like you could start at the visitor center and go toward the picnic area, or you could start at the picnic area and go toward the visitor center. Either one.
That's exactly right. So I have that in my notes here.
Oh, okay.
The trailheads can start either at the picnic area, which is, there's a road that turns off to go to the picnic area. It's very clearly marked on the parkway. It's around mile marker post 367.5. There's way more parking in the picnic area than there is at the visitor center by a mile. I mean, there's well over 100 parking spots at the picnic area.
Did you see the picture I took of the parking area at the picnic area?
I did.
Okay, yeah, it's a lot.
It's huge.
That was on a Saturday, and there was lots and lots of parking available.
Tons of parking.
Yeah. And this was a busy trail.
Yeah, we're going to get into the busy trail part. But you can also start at the visitor center, at the end of the parking lot of the visitor center. And the visitor center is at mile marker post 364.
Literally right on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Right.
It's not like you turn on a road and
Nope.
go, it's boom, it's there. You turn
You're
a corner
driving on
and
the Blue Ridge Parkway, which, by the way, listeners, most beautiful drive in the country by far, I think.
It's up there at least. If
Clearly we haven't done them all.
Well, yeah.
But, yeah.
It definitely. I mean, and to be honest, at that elevation, so we're at the end of April and the trees have not gotten their leaves yet, and it's still breathtaking and beautiful.
It was pretty incredible and we'll try not to go too far off on a tangent, but the Blue Ridge Parkway is so great. We got on right there around Asheville.
Yeah.
Which is a much lower elevation than the Craggy Gardens is. It was a lush green tree and forest in Asheville.
Right.
And
flowers
as you start
blooming.
climbing, flowers and everything, as you start climbing up and you feel your ears pop once or twice, the trees don't have leaves yet.
Yeah, it was interesting because you could stop and like you could stop at overlooks.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see clearly the higher elevations. I mean, of course, up is higher and down is lower, but the trees that are at the higher elevations didn't have but these overlooks you could look down and then there's lush green leaves on the trees down below.
It's kind of neat if you're at these overlooks that have that have some pretty big vistas. You can see as the mountain goes down, there's kind of a line of green where it starts to get greener, and at the base it's much greener. We encountered this on the trail as well.
Yes.
So we could see the beginnings of leaves coming back on the trees.
And the beginnings of flowers.
So there are a ton of rhododendrons on this trail.
Yes.
A ton of rhododendrons. They all have their leaves and they have flower buds. They haven't quite opened up yet.
Yeah, I don't think that rhododendrons really lose their leaves in the
Probably
winter.
not.
Yeah, I
probably.
think mountain laurels and rhododendrons don't
Keep them?
They do keep them, yes.
Okay. But we saw a lot of flower buds.
Yes.
That are just maybe, 2 weeks away from opening, if that, maybe a week. So this is definitely one you're going to want to go back to if you're into flowers.
And
this is
particularly
an amazing one.
rhododendrons.
Yeah.
This is your trail because there's a point where it's a canopy of rhododendrons. Now, I will say there was only maybe 2 places where I had to duck my head under some branches of, I think, rhododendrons. I'm not sure. Something. The issue is because the path is so rooty and rocky and craggy, I was looking at my feet and not the branch I was about to walk into.
Yeah, you almost hit your head that one time.
Yes, I'm glad you were looking out for me.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye out. This one was particularly low. This branch was particularly low and sticking out. So the first 3/4 of a mile, if you start at the picnic area, and we recommend it to start at the picnic area just because of parking. Just because of parking.
Mm-hmm.
If you start at the picnic area at 0.35 miles in, you're going to have a little turnoff that is very easy to miss.
Oh, yes. To the left.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
The pathway goes to the left, and it takes you to a little pavilion that you can't see from the trail that you're on, from the Craggy Gardens Trail. If you take this little pathway to the left, then there's a little sign on the tree that says that there's a gazebo on the way.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the gazebo, and it is so spectacular. You will see the trail photos on the episode photos, episode 17. Look for the trail photos. There's a little gazebo that's tucked up right on the ridge.
Yes.
And you can see
it's a vista.
40 miles.
Yes.
Of mountain range.
It's your first vista that you come across.
It is the first vista that you do come across on this trail. And there's, of course, it's a gazebo, so there's benches all around this octagonal shaped gazebo.
Yes.
So you and I sat there for a couple minutes.
And can I say that one of the things I appreciate about this trail is benches?
Yeah. How many benches are there, roughly?
Oh, goodness. I should have studied before I took this test. I would say, are we counting the gazebo or no?
Yeah, including the gazebo, and there's a bigger pavilion that we're going to talk about here in a second. That is,
I would
about
say
halfway through.
5 or 6.
Yeah, easily 5 or 6. And it's interesting too because when the trail starts in the picnic area, so you're walking through picnic tables, and there's a bench like pretty fast once you get past the picnic area. And I could see why. So we got a little out of breath. We were huffing and puffing a little bit.
Yes. Just the first little bit.
Yeah, we were huffing and puffing because it's a pretty steady climb up.
Yeah. Well, you have to climb some stairs just to get up to the top of the trailhead.
Yeah. It's
a beautiful picnic area and lots of picnic tables.
Tons of picnic tables.
And they're like, I think they were stone picnic tables, some of them.
They are. I don't know if they're concrete. They look like concrete of some kind.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's so mountainous that one side of the picnic table will be very like high off the ground and the other side is the perfect height.
Yeah. Yeah. So the picnic table tops are level.
I want
But
to
when
bring
you're walking,
yes,
they look like they're crooked because the ground is actually
because
on
it's
an
on
incline.
yes,
Yeah.
a pretty steep incline in some places.
So it looks funny when you're walking through because you're like, why are those tables
Right.
slanted? But they're not. They're actually steady.
Somebody on the other side of the table might be standing to eat while the others on the
Yeah.
other side are sitting to eat. And
And there's little metal grills at most of them, not at everyone, but at most of them.
yeah.
So, and yesterday when we were there was volunteers cleaning the picnic tables and cleaning the grills. So that's really nice.
Yes.
That they're out there doing that. So it's very well maintained, this picnic area.
Yes.
Very well maintained. So past that one gazebo, you keep going. And at 0.9 miles in from the picnic area, there's this very large gazebo.
Yes. When we came upon it, it just made me think of like a horse stable. But
Yeah, but it's huge.
it's not a
It's
horse.
not enclosed,
yes.
It's got a roof.
And it has benches all the way around. It's
Yep.
huge.
It's huge. It's huge.
Like
And
you could have a wedding reception in there or something. I don't
Easily.
know. It's
Easily.
big.
It's really, really big. And there's no views from there though.
Right, correct.
You can't really see anything. But use that as a marker to know to turn right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's signs,
I
but
don't
I don't think so. Maybe there isn't. I don't know.
remember.
But if you're coming from the picnic area and you get to the big gazebo on the trail,
There's a well-worn trail. So the Craggy Gardens Trail continues. You walk through that big, huge thing, and then the trail continues on the other side
that's
of that.
right.
But there's a very well-worn path if you look to the right. And people might be somewhat confused, like which way does the path?
Right.
It almost feels like the path goes to the right, but you're not going to get to the visitor center if you turn right. You're going to get to something else.
That's right. So if you look at the trail map under the Trail Photos episode 17, you will see what we're talking about. Starting from the picnic area, you go 0.9 miles in, and then right there at the pavilion, you turn right. And you're going to take maybe 100-yard jog to this big open rhododendron field.
Yeah, I mean, I was not jogging.
By jog, I mean just
Yes, jaunt,
a walk.
a walk.
It's not terribly difficult, this section of the trail, to get from the pavilion to the part. It's actually pretty easy. And then it opens into this big field. Most of it's open, but there's low rhododendron bushes. And then you see almost 360-degree view vistas of the Blue Ridge Mountains in this area.
Yeah.
It's spectacular. You'll see the photos. There's one photo there where Donna's sitting on a rock just contemplating life. And you can see in the distance the mountain range. It's spectacular up there. There's so much room. There's so much room up there. You could easily have 100 families picnicking and there still be a ton of room up there.
Sure. Yeah. There was a couple that was, I don't know, 200 yards from us that now I want to point out this is a busy trail, but when you get to that big open field, you have your own space to enjoy that vista, to
You do.
enjoy the view.
There's a ton of space that you could find a spot away from a lot of other people and just enjoy the mountains.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was a Saturday. I will say, I wonder if in about a month from now, when the rhododendrons are in full bloom and when the trees, when the trees start to get more of their leaves and everything, I'm wondering, with as busy as it was yesterday, I'm wondering it probably gets even more busy.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. So we were mid-morning when we got there,
Mm-hmm.
and God, we encountered so many people
Yes.
on this trail. So many people on this trail. Like, I don't know, maybe 100 people, maybe a little bit more. In and out, there were just tons and tons of people.
Yes.
And there were, so listeners, I'm gonna gripe for a few minutes here. So bear with me. At the top area that we're talking about with the view, the path continues up to this, I guess, this pinnacle area that gives you a view of the western side of this clearing. And there's a spectacular vista there.
Yes. You walk along, it feels like you're walking away from the vistas, the almost
Right.
365 view, you are kind of walking away from that. It's almost like wagon wheel divots.
There were deep ruts. Yeah.
Yes, but we kind of saw people walking. I don't know if you knew that what was over there, but I just kind of saw people going over that way. So I was like, oh, what's over here? So
yeah, I didn't know that there was anything up there, but the Komoot app that had it pre-programmed in had us going up that way.
Oh.
So I figured there was something there.
Okay.
And then, of course, the people walking up there. So we get up there, and it's clearly a viewing area.
Yes.
It's clearly a viewing area. There's benches in this little circle and an amazing vista behind it.
It's not as big an area as the first area that you get to. It's a more, what would I say, more intimate.
Very much so. It's maybe 20 feet
right.
wide
I would
in
say
kind of a circle.
Maybe 8 people might be comfortable if they were all in one party. They'd be pretty close together.
Yeah.
Viewing that vista, that breakaway, that vista of the mountain.
Right. Exactly, Donna. So all of this is to give you a sense of how small
and intimate and
this
more,
area is.
Beautiful.
So we were following this group of 4 to 5 women.
Yes.
And a couple.
Not creepily. We just happened to be following them.
I don't think we were following creepily. I hope not.
No.
So there was a couple, and then there was this group of 4 to 5 women. I think it was 5. And they get up there, and we're maybe, 50 yards behind them, probably, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
And we see them spend like 2 minutes up there and turn around. And so Donna and I get up there, and there is a shirtless man doing yoga breathing exercises right in the middle of this very small circle viewing area.
Yes, he has spread out his yoga mat. He is taking up the whole space. He's down on his knees on his yoga mat, and he's not even facing the vista.
Nope, not facing the mountains at all.
He doesn't even have his eyes open. He's just doing these I don't know, it was weird breathing. It was
in his shirt and so, if you do yoga, great.
Yeah.
I have no problem with yoga.
It's a beautiful thing.
And I have no problem with doing yoga in the mountains. I'm sure it's very rejuvenating.
But why didn't he choose a spot in the big field where people could walk around you?
100% that is my complaint. He could have gone to literally hundreds of other spots where he would not have been in anybody's way.
He chose that. He did bogart that spot. That was his spot, and everyone else be damned.
So it was clear that the women were uncomfortable with this.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to interrupt somebody having a spiritual whatever.
And there's this creepy shirtless guy doing this weird exercise right smack dab dead center in the middle of this viewing area.
Now, I want you to be truthful. How much of your annoyance with him has to do with the fact that he had a man bun?
It's not zero. It's not a lot, but
man
it's not
buns
zero.
don't bother me, but I know they're not your favorite.
Yeah. No, it's just annoying because yoga is supposed to be about centering yourself, right?
Yes. This was clearly a performance.
This was clearly, it was very performative. Look at me. Everybody, you have to look at me because there's no way around it.
Yes.
There's a gorgeous view at the viewing area, clearly, which is why the Park Service had built benches in this little semicircle to view this. This guy's smack dab in the middle.
Right.
I walked around him.
You walked around him, and I walked around him as well and stood back because there's really only where you were. There was only one place for one person to stand to get the picture of the vista.
Exactly.
So I waited for you to finish, and then I went forward and I took my picture, and then we walked around him again because we hiked that whole way. We're not going to not get a picture.
100%. So I'm sure there's zero chance that guy is listening to this podcast, but if for some freak chance he is, stop this. Stop it.
Yes.
Go anywhere else, bud. Go anywhere else in that big open field where you're not right in the way of everybody else.
Making everybody feel uncomfortable. If this was New York City, then performance art, sure, go ahead and do it.
I mean, even as long as you're not doing this would be the equivalent of doing it in the middle of the sidewalk. If he had done this in the middle of the sidewalk in New York City, if he would not have been arrested, a New Yorker would have thrown him in the street.
I don't know. People might have just walked around him. Depends on how wide the sidewalk is, I guess.
He could not have been more annoying and more selfish. And here's the thing, too. He was there for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Because you and I left that area.
Yes. He had been there. We don't know how long he'd been
for
there
a
before.
while. Clearly, he was
there.
already fully set up, right?
Yes.
Left that area, went back down, finished our hike up to the visitor center, spent a few minutes there, came back. So we're talking a good 30 minutes from the time that we were there and he was doing his performative bull crap and came back. And we ran into the guy that we pointed to go up to the viewing area.
Yes, when we were leaving that viewing area and we were getting ready to go through the huge pavilion, there was a couple of
middle-aged couples.
Right. And they were debating whether or not to go down that path. And you said 100% worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And kind of told them, the vistas and all of that. So.
And we didn't say anything about the
meditating guy.
The selfish yoga jerk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we went up to the visitor center, spent time, came back down. So it was probably 45 minutes of that whole trip doing this. As we were coming back to head back toward the picnic area to our parking spot, we ran into that same guy and he told us, "Hey, oh yeah, thank you. It was 100% worth it." Oh, and the yoga guy was still there.
Yeah.
So he was there at least an hour.
He might have just set up camp to be there all day. Who knows?
Yoga guy, stop it.
Right.
Go anywhere else on the mountain. Go anywhere else where you're not right in the way of everybody else trying to enjoy this spot. So anyway, that's my rant. It's over. The most selfish thing I've seen on a trail yet.
Okay, but it did give us an opportunity to choose. We could choose to not feel negatively about that guy, right? We could I don't know, harness our inner.
We could choose to, but the amount of people that we saw, well over 100 people on this trail.
Yes.
He interfered with every single one of theirs viewing
of that.
Experience.
So your indignance is not, if it was just us.
If we just stumbled upon some guy doing this and we were all by like Pinnacle Falls, yes. I wouldn't be that upset.
Okay.
I'd be a little irritated, but I wouldn't be that upset because at least you're making an effort to not do it in front of everybody. Right.
It's not a busy trail.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
So that's my main complaint.
Okay.
The women were clearly not comfortable.
Yeah. Shirtless dude.
A shirtless, weird guy doing creepy breathing exercises.
He had like a Bible scripture tattooed on his abdomen. Something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I should not know what tattoos he has on his naked skin on a trail, but whatever. So that was the only negative of this trail, and I hope he's not there when you guys do it.
Yeah. Maybe he lives there. Oh my God. What if he's there all the time? What if he is the yoga guy, the selfish yoga guy?
I may push him off the mountain. That may be a thing that happens.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't think a court in the land would convict me. But the trail itself, 100% worth it. Don't you agree?
Yes. Yeah, even without the rhododendrons blooming.
Oh, absolutely. The vistas alone.
But I do want to go back when the trees at that height, at that altitude, have leaves and the flowers are in full bloom.
Probably another month.
Probably.
For the flowers and maybe, I didn't see a whole lot of leaf buds. But.
I will say this. It was considerably colder up there. Again, we're at the end of April. It was not that cold when we started at the bottom, in Asheville.
No, I mean, it's 5,500 feet. It's pretty high.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wore my winter hat. I had a scarf. The
wind was blowing pretty good too in the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. I don't know what it will be like because I know it can be July. It can be hot in Asheville. And if you go up to Grandfather Mountain,
it's cold.
It can be snowing.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider if you do higher altitude hikes.
That's a good point. Always bring at least a light jacket, a windbreaker, something.
Your ears can get cold too from the wind
Yeah.
and the cold. So just be prepared even if you're from Florida, even if it's the middle of summer, just always have something for protection.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you classify this hike as? Piece of cake, break a sweat, feel the burn, or pain bringer?
So here's the thing. It was cold, so I did not break a sweat. And the length of the hike is not that long. So it's something between piece of cake and break a sweat just because of that steady climb, the stairs going up. You have, all of the roots and rocks you have to not, there were a couple of times that you and I almost twisted our ankle, almost tweaked a knee.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think this firmly falls in break a sweat.
You think so?
Pretty firmly.
Okay.
Yeah. Not too much past, just entirely because that climb, we were huffing and puffing a few times.
Yes.
On the way
but
up.
The benches made me so happy.
Yeah. So it's a break a sweat. But it's not much more than that. Like you said, it's only 2 miles there and back. So it's not a long one.
Yes.
And
now I think it's rated as easy for on
all trails, yeah.
Conditioned hikers, like the more experienced hikers. If you're an experienced hiker, A, you're probably not listening to this podcast, but
Probably.
B, you won't have a problem with it. Now, I will say I was surprised to see some people with regular tennis shoes. They weren't wearing any kind of hiking shoes, any kind of...
There was a lot of people with regular tennis shoes, and we saw some little kids, like 2 and 3 year old kids.
Oh, yes. When we were on our way out, that one little girl was having a meltdown. She was like, I can't do it.
Keep going.
I can't.
And honestly, I would have a hard time with 2 and 3 year olds on there, just because there's a lot of rocks and roots you have to really be careful about on this trail. Now, if you start, so listeners, here's a pro tip. If you start at the visitor center and just go down to the pavilion and up to the big viewing area and totally skip the picnic side of the trail, it's much easier.
Yes.
It's much, much easier.
And I think it's a more often traveled, more well-worn path. Although the other path it just felt a little bit more rustic.
It did feel rustic. You and I commented a few times on this trail. God, this feels like a Lord of the Rings type trail, just because of the terrain.
Yes.
The terrain felt very different than some of the other trails that we've been on.
I think some of those bushes were mountain laurels because they had that, the way that the bark it twists as it grows. Or do rhododendrons do that too? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think they're as twisty, but yeah, if you've ever seen a mountain laurel tree, the branches and stalks they take a lot of right angles. They're very, very...
Very swirly.
Squiggly lined branches. Yeah.
Yes, they're very interesting looking.
Yeah. So I would recommend this trail, Donna.
I would too.
Yeah, it's great. And if you're on the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is spectacular in and of itself, take a quick... you can get this done in an hour if you don't stop, but I highly recommend stopping. Spend 2 hours doing this hike. You're going to want to get out and stretch your legs anyway if you're spending a lot of time on the Blue Ridge Parkway Drive.
Well, you're probably getting out and stretching your legs, looking at the overlooks and vistas and stuff.
I would hope so.
Yes.
I would hope so. If you want to take full advantage, do that. We had our Guide Along app
going
and listening to the fun facts. So yeah, absolutely recommend this to anybody who's in the Asheville area or driving along the Blue Ridge Parkway, the Craggy Gardens Trail. Mile marker 367 or 364 to get to the visitor center.
So, Roy, in 1784, the first non-Indigenous people crossed the Swannanoa Gap from Davidson's Fort and what is now Old Fort to settle the valley.
Swannanoa Gap is where we were yesterday. That's where the Craggy Mountains are.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's a gorgeous area. Yeah. So 1784 was the first time they crossed there.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of late for settling anyway.
Yes, I wonder if it's because it's so challenging. Those mountains
5,000, 6,000 feet. Yeah, I would imagine it would be challenging. Plus the Cherokee were there. So I'm sure that deterred a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So This story is one of tragedy in which the first white man to settle in western North Carolina dies violently and becomes a fixture in the region's history.
Oh, okay.
Samuel Davidson brought his wife Mary, their baby daughter Ruth, and a slave girl named Liza from Old Fort, which was then Davidson's Fort,
Okay.
to live in a cabin in the Craggy Gardens mountain range.
Nice.
Right. I mean, those vistas we saw, I can totally understand.
I totally understand it. Yeah, I wish I could build a cabin there.
Mm-hmm. I wonder where it was. Like, actually, I wonder if it was near the gazebo or...
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty big mountain area. and
I
the
wish
valley's
that there
pretty big.
was some kind of remnants
Yeah.
of that, but
Yeah,
we
that'd be
didn't see
nice.
any.
Nope, nothing.
So the story says that Samuel had a horse with a cowbell always tied to its neck so it could be easily located. We actually came across a woman with a dog on the trail yesterday that had a bell on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this was a big dog. So it kind of makes me wonder if that dog likes to take off.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe, I don't know, if something's going to eat your dog, then like it's going to have a jingly belly.
I
don't know.
It's going to have a jingly belly.
I
What
don't-
is that sound? A muffled bell?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Got dark real quick.
So one night at supper, Davidson heard the cowbell making quite a ruckus and charged outside without his rifle to see what was going on. I think I would have my rifle with me at all times if I'm going
I mean,
outside.
if
'Cause-
you're hearing a ruckus,
Mhm. What do you think?
whether it be an animal or other,
Mhm.
why not have some kind of protection? Yeah. Yeah, that seems like mistake number one there.
Sure. Maybe mistake number one and the last mistake.
Oh,
So, yes, he ran outside without his rifle. He was shot and killed by a Cherokee hunting party. So we've got Mary, the baby, and the slave girl, and they managed to return to Davidson's fort without being pursued by the Indians, which is kind of incredible
so
to me.
2 young women and a baby
Yes.
making it how many miles away? I think it was like 16, 20, something like that.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that's rough terrain.
Oh, yeah. We're not talking like, they're walking down the street or taking an Uber. No,
Right.
This is
Not paved
over
roads.
and under mountains. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so
So it was Mary, little baby Ruth,
Mhm.
and
Liza.
and Liza, their
They're
slave.
Yeah. So when they got to Davidson's fort, Samuel's twin brother William, he mounted a search party,
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
and he returned to the cabin, found Samuel's body, and buried it. They also found the Indians and killed them. So
Not a great story so
no,
far.
pretty.
I mean, pretty great for those women.
yeah,
to
yeah.
get themselves and the baby out. But yeah, I mean,
That's I'm curious about why the women were not pursued.
maybe the Cherokee, it's entirely possible that the Cherokee were like, hey, we're going to give you a reason to get out of here.
Yeah.
And so they were like, they're leaving, so let's let them leave.
Plus, we already know that the Cherokee were a matriarchal society. So I don't know if that held any sway. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know that I have found any stories in our research of the Cherokee people that showed that they targeted women.
Right.
So
In fact, they were very upset by white men targeting their Cherokee
targeting
women.
their women. So it would make sense that the women clearly are not a threat to them, right? So why attack them just to kill them?
Yeah. Maybe there's no honor in that or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
Something.
So in less than a year, William Davidson and his family and several friends crossed the Blue Ridge from the, I don't know how, Catawba
Mhm.
settlement?
Catawba. Mhm.
Catawba, to take up grants of land where Bee Tree Creek enters the Swannanoa River, forming the Bee Tree community.
Okay.
So I think that's close to where we were yesterday.
Not far, maybe about 20 miles.
Mm. So while Samuel has a place in history, not much is known about the slave woman who helped his now widowed family.
Now widowed.
Yeah. To make it to the safety of the fort. But I imagine that slave girl, she was so brave. Liza, because I'm guessing, here's this woman her husband has just been shot. She's got this little baby. I'm guessing that Liza was holding it together.
Oh, for Mary and little baby Ruth? I would think so, right? And how terrified all three of them must have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So a descendant of the woman, a man named Johnny Baxter, recalled the story of his grandmother's grandmother passed down through generations. He describes Liza as a teenager who helped deliver the Davidson widow and child safely back across the gap. Based on what is known about the roles of slaves at the time, the woman would have been responsible for tending to the child as they made the trip.
So basically, she's carrying the baby.
Yeah.
I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
So this is a teenage slave girl who is going through these very challenging woods.
Right.
And mountain area with a baby and a distraught mother, I'm sure.
Yeah. Mother/widow.
16 miles, at least, to try to get to the safety of a fort.
Yeah.
That's very brave.
It is.
It's very brave.
According to Baxter, Liza was a strong-willed teenager who saved Mary and Ruth Davidson by dragging them down the mountain off the main trail and under the cover of darkness to safety within the walls of Davidson's fort.
Wait, so they did this at night off the main trail. That's amazing.
Yeah. That they made
How are you navigating?
Yeah.
You know?
You can get lost out there now.
In the daylight with clearly marked trails. Yeah. Under the cover. And it's important to note back then during this time, there were still a lot of bears, elk, mountain lions, wolves in this area. A lot of them.
Yes. Yeah.
That is crazy. Good for them.
As a tribute, Baxter's family named a child after the heroic Liza every generation.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Oh, good for her.
So there's another heroic woman in this story with the tale that happens just over a decade later. That young baby, Ruth, she turned out to be a pivotal figure in the Revolutionary War.
What?
Yeah. So on May 12, 1780, Charleston fell to the British, and on August 16th, the American army was routed from Camden. With these two important locations securely under British control, General Cornwallis began preparations to invade North Carolina. So what Cornwallis didn't know was that General Nathanael Greene was reorganizing his forces in the hills of Virginia and needed to send communications to various detached troops in South Carolina, which seemed like an impossible task due to the activities of Ferguson and Tarleton. Yeah. At the Battle of Kings Mountain on October 7th, 1780, the Over-Mountain men had struck a blow at the pride of the British. So Captain Ferguson, who had led the attack, was killed during this skirmish, and Tarleton was defeated at the Battle of Cowpens on January 17th, 1781.
Cowpens is South Carolina. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, chances of getting a message to the American troops through the sparsely settled foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains almost, evaporated. It just wasn't going to be a thing that they could do, but they needed to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like you could pick up a cell phone or text back in 1776.
Right.
Yeah.
Carrier pigeon. I don't know.
Maybe. If you're lucky. Yeah.
I don't know. So, Major William Davidson was the recognized leader of the North Carolina Patriot Forces, frequently holding meetings of the Whigs, WHIGS.
Whigs.
I don't, what is
it? The Whigs were a political party back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they wear wigs, WIGS?
Almost everybody did back then. All the Washington, Jefferson, they all wore wigs. But yes, the Whig is a party.
Okay. So he was holding these meetings in his log home called the Glades, located in the upper Catawba Valley, a few miles from today's old fort, also called Davidson.
Which is not far from Asheville, by the way.
Right.
That's where it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when the plea for assistance was received from General Greene, Ruth Davidson was present in the home. She proposed that since the British might not suspect a female to be of military importance, she volunteered to be the messenger.
Wow.
Yeah. And she knew what this meant. She knew that she had to travel over rough terrain through this, again, sparsely settled region. So, and during, this danger.
So as a baby,
yeah,
she was carried to safety after a native attack
Right,
that
by
killed her
Liza.
father.
Yes.
She carried to safety by her mother and a slave woman 16 miles in the dark
Right.
in the mountain woods. And then she grows up
Yes.
to become a
Ball-
messenger.
Yeah, ballsy.
Yeah.
So I have to wonder how much of Ruth's upbringing was influenced by Liza. I like to think that Liza, the slave girl who carried her out of that situation, told her stories, taught her how to be. Maybe she had some natural inclination toward bravery.
Yeah.
But also, maybe Liza taught her.
At the very least, probably showed her, hey, just because you're a girl doesn't mean
You can't do this,
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, she didn't have anybody with her. No guide, no escort.
Which was crazy enough back then.
Yes.
Women did not ride by themselves
Right.
anywhere back then.
It just was not safe on a number of fronts.
Yeah. Natives, robbers on the road, any number of things.
So she was on horseback and alone, and she succeeded in delivering the message to the 96th District, South Carolina. Ruth,
So 96 is not far from where we were, near Pickens. So we've talked about Fort 96 in one of our fun facts.
yes. Yeah. So she rode more than 100 miles alone over rough terrain and successfully delivered the missive to the Patriot troops in South Carolina.
That's incredible.
Yep. These troops, because of her, they now knew that Greene and hundreds of Patriot troops were headed their way to offer assistance. So from May 22nd until June 18th, 1781, Greene staged a siege of the Loyalist forts at 96. Though Greene failed to take the fort, this battle proved to be a first step in Greene's campaign to retake the Carolinas, which was ultimately essential to an American victory in the Revolutionary War.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So this woman had a life.
Yeah.
So she's very young, early 20s, I think, at this time, if not younger than that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a rough childhood. She grew up with, her father had been killed.
Right.
She got, basically had to abscond in the middle of the night to escape maybe attack.
Yeah.
And then grew up and be like, you know what? I can do this.
Yeah.
Fine. I'll deliver these messages.
Yeah. She was
I'll
like,
make sure.
bring it.
That's amazing. that she's a patriot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, the Disney movies and whatnot, they'll have usually the mom dies, and then that makes the person like Cinderella or Snow White or whoever, they end up, you find out what you're made of when tough stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think is the story there. But Ruth Davidson became a true heroine, accomplishing a necessary and dangerous mission in answer to a call of duty to further the cause of the American independence. She got married to James Wilson, with whom she had at least 9 children.
Oh, wow. Here we go with the popping out the
Yeah.
dozen kids again.
Just surviving that is amazing. Just surviving
that
childbirth.
was probably the bravest thing she ever did, was have 9 kids. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, she died in 1826.
Okay.
So, yep.
So she wasn't terribly old then, right?
I mean,
1826. Well, I guess she could have been about 60-ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Depending on, yeah. That's amazing. That's pretty great. And I understand that there's a Daughters of the American Revolution chapter named after her in North Carolina.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
I feel like there should be something about Liza as well.
I don't disagree. She could have easily been like, nope, white lady.
I mean,
you're on your own.
And then what? If Liza didn't carry baby Ruth, oh, I didn't mean it.
If she didn't carry baby Ruth, she would have carried Snickers.
If she didn't carry that baby out of that horrifying situation and survive, make it to that fort.
Who knows what would have happened?
Right.
It's possible that they would have never gotten the message to the fort in the American Revolution, and who knows? So I'm choosing to believe that Ruth, so Liza helping Mary and little baby Ruth survive that night and get to the fort is the reason that America won the Revolutionary War.
Yes. Thank you.
So thank you, Liza.
Yes.
If you're out there
100%.
in the universe, up in heaven, whatever you believe, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
sorry
Ruth,
for whatever happened to you.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah, there was something that I was reading. So people that a relative, a distant relative, of course distant because we're that many years away from
250 years away.
Right. But people are somewhat embarrassed about the fact that their family line had slaves and they don't want to really admit it. And so this person was making a comment and calling Liza a servant or calling her, I think,
staff.
Staff. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's the worst when I hear it. Look,
yeah, I mean,
nobody's going to blame you.
Right.
For what happened back then. Slavery was common back then. It just was. It was a thing.
Some very good historic figures,
George Washington's family had slaves.
Right.
Almost every founding father had slaves. So yes, I mean, it was a thing that happened.
Right.
But let's not whitewash it. You know, just call it what it is. Yeah, my ancestors owned slaves. When I started digging into my ancestry, there were patriots, and we're from North Carolina. That's where our family immigrated from Scotland to North Carolina back in the early 1700s. They had slaves.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't whitewash it. It is what it is. It was common back then. It just was a thing that happened.
Yeah, you found an old will where someone willed slaves to
Yeah, it's hard to see.
It's definitely a cringeworthy part of our history.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's not try to let's not call them staff. They were not there willingly.
They were not paid. They were not there by choice. They didn't, although it sounds like Liza did have a devotion to Ruth and her.
She clearly cared, right? If she didn't care, she would have said, "You're on your own. I'm running."
Yeah.
So
that would have been the
cared.
Perfect time.
Absolutely, it would have been. Well, thanks for that fun fact, Donna. I appreciate it. So Ruth Davidson and Liza, we didn't get a last name because they didn't often have last names back then. But Liza, thank you, ladies, for helping shape our country.
Yeah.
So today's review, Donna, is the Craggy Gardens Visitor Center. You can get to it on the Blue Ridge Parkway at milepost 364 and a half, roughly. And it's really hard to miss because there's signs before and after, and it's literally right on the parkway. So you'll be driving right past it.
Yes, and you can park before or after. There's parking areas before or after.
On both sides, depending on which way you're going. It's really nice. The Visitor Center is open from mid-April to mid-November every year. And it's open when it's open, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. So Monday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. when it's open for the season.
Right.
They have exhibits on the natural history of the region there at the Visitor Center. They have lots of Blue Ridge Parkway apparel, t-shirts, raincoats, hoodies.
Yes.
All kinds of
There
stuff.
are bathrooms that are down below the Visitor Center. You go down some stairs to get to the men's bathroom or the women's bathroom. Men's is on one side, the women's on the other. They were not open when we were there yesterday.
Yeah, they weren't open yesterday.
They did have some porta potties
at the very end of the parking lot where the trail starts.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, interestingly enough, that's something that at the parking area for the picnic area where we started the hike, also they had bathrooms, but they were not open for the season yet, and they had porta potties. That was a little odd to me.
It's still early in the season for that, I guess a little bit, if they open, but you would think that they would open at the same time.
It's a lot of trouble to set up a porta potty. Just open the bathrooms.
I think they put porta potties in there for off season.
Okay. So it wasn't okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah. At the Visitor Center, they have a small amount of food and drinks. It's not a big selection.
Right.
Don't expect this to be a convenience store or grocery store. It's
Cliff bars.
Yeah.
And
a few candy bars.
Yes.
Some sodas and water bottles. Not a ton of stuff. No fresh food. But, if you just want to stop and get a candy bar and a soda or a little trail mix and
they had a water fountain out front, but it wasn't working.
No, the water fountain wasn't working. So that's unfortunate that it wasn't working.
Yeah.
They have books and maps there that you can buy about the Blue Ridge Parkway, about the Craggy Garden, about a lot of stuff along the parkway.
Yeah.
But they also have one thing that is really kind of great. They have this large windowed wall
Yes.
on the backside with rocking chairs in front of them. So you can view an amazing view inside the air condition if it's really hot, or if it's cold inside the heated area. And you can sit in the rocking chairs and just enjoy the view.
Yes. It is kind of nice. I know a lot of visitor centers will go to the trouble of having this big map along a wall, or they'll have a lot of, drawings or stories or artwork or whatever. They just did a wall of glass that you can see the vista.
Which is amazing.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course they have a lot of stuff there that's Blue Ridge Parkway specific, like DVDs and CDs and stuff like that.
So I will say this, the trail that we did was not wheelchair friendly, but if you're in a wheelchair, you can go into I guess you don't even really need to go into that visitor center to view the vista. You can view it from outside.
You can view it right from the parking lot, but yes, it is wheelchair accessible.
Right.
The shop area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely is.
Something. Throwing a bone, I guess.
Yeah. They did have a small amount of hiking equipment. Like they had small hiking bags,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a couple hiking poles.
Crossbody. You found some binoculars.
They had
children's binoculars.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if they were children.
Well, they were brightly colored and they were kind of small, but so I'm not talking about some serious bird watching binoculars, but if you I think that they were like $9.99 or something, so not too crazy expensive.
Yeah, they were pretty cheap.
And
we didn't get a pair because
we saw them. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I want to get
we
a
were
better
like, what
pair
a
for
great
Alec.
idea, but we did kind of just hold them up and look out the window, and you can see the mountains more clearly.
Yeah, they do. They do a good job. They're Blue Ridge Parkway branded, so they're kind of like souvenir type things. They
would
work.
be like if you see something very far off and you think, oh, is that a bear? Hopefully, if it's a bear, you are seeing it and it's very far away.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
no kidding.
Binoculars might help you see that more clearly.
Seeing them there in the visitor center made me want to put a set of binoculars in my pack.
Yes.
Just to keep with us on hikes, because there are lots of times when you and I are looking at something like a waterfall or something like that. We're like, oh, what's that up there? I can't quite see it. Binoculars would be perfect for stuff like that. So I may end up getting a small pair.
I wonder if they make lightweight binoculars, because I remember as a kid when my dad's binoculars were heavy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think they made them with pure lead or something. I'm not sure.
I'm sure they were steel or whatever, iron. Yeah. I'm sure they do. The ones yesterday were pretty light.
Yes.
They weren't too bad. So I just want to get some that has a little bit more magnification than the ones they had yesterday.
Sorry, I took you off the topic,
No,
didn't I?
it's okay. So they did have that there. There's for a small little shop area, and there are pictures of the inside on our trail photos, guys, so you can see. It has a surprisingly large variety of stuff there. Tons of typical knickknacks like coasters and magnets and keychains and stuff like that. And I will say this. I have found Blue Ridge Parkway Visitor Center clothing, like t-shirts and stuff, to be pretty good quality.
Yes. Yes, I have too. I bought a Blue Ridge Parkway t-shirt last, was it October, November?
Fall. Yeah.
And it's a really nice t-shirt. It does not have a lot of stretch to it, so get the right size or don't put on weight after you buy
it. Their raincoats, I bought a raincoat several years ago when we came up to visit, and it's still good. It lasted a while. It's still a good raincoat. So the quality of the clothing is actually pretty good.
Yes.
It's not typical, souvenir t-shirt stuff. It's pretty good quality stuff. So again, it's milepost 364 on the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's kind of tough to miss. If you're paying attention at all, you'll see it. You'll see the signs for it. And I highly recommend stopping by, don't you?
I do. It's very busy. The trail is busy. The gift shop is busy. You're going to run into people. So as long as you're okay with that.
Yeah, it's true. You are going to run into people.
Yeah.
So this is when the Blue Ridge Parkway, this time of year, late April, is when it really starts to get a lot of popularity. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's it. Send everybody there.
Yep.
Craggy Gardens Visitor Center, milepost 364. So that's our show for this week, guys. Craggy Gardens Trail along the Blue Ridge Parkway. There's no waterfall, there's no stream, but there are some of the most amazing vistas you're going to see on any trail in the region. Hands down. Highly recommend this trail to anyone.
Yes. If it's a hot summer day, go do that trail. It'll probably be 10 degrees cooler.
Easily 10 degrees cooler. And you can spend hours up there if you really wanted to. Just enjoying it, having a picnic.
Right.
Which is something you and I talked about we'll do next time. We'll bring a picnic lunch up there. We also talked about the Craggy Gardens Visitor Center that is right on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Great place to stop, get a quick snack, not a lot, but get a quick snack, sit in the rocking chairs, enjoy the view, talk to the park rangers about the area, maybe pick up a souvenir along the way. And then we heard a great fun fact about Ruth Davidson and Liza, who, honestly, it's no understatement to say that they helped shape our nation.
Yeah.
Without either one of them, who knows what would have happened in the Revolutionary War?
Who knows? Some brave women. So thank you so much for listening. And please subscribe to us in whatever podcast app you use and be sure to leave us a review. That's how our show grows. Feel free to check out our trail photos at casualclimbers.podbean.com. And if you have a question, comment, or just want to drop us a line, you can reach us at casualclimberspodcast@gmail.com.
Hey, Donna.
Hey.
So, I'm bald. I think you know that. This is not a surprise to you.
I actually need to cut those 2 hairs that are poking up on top of your head.
Not cool, first of all. But I'm thinking about growing a man bun out of the back of my hair where the hair resides, and then just going shirtless in the middle of a trail and doing some really annoying yoga. What do you think?
No, absolutely not.
Would you divorce me?
I would push you off the mountain.
I would deserve it. I would deserve it. Shirtless yoga guy. Stop it.
Stop it. Stop it, shirtless yoga guy. So we will see you guys out on the trail.
See you on the trail. Except for you, shirtless yoga guy.